So this bar corresponding to the device bar, and the first device corresponds to the network layer 3. So first application layer and transport layer, there is no hardware device involved there. It is purely software based, but the network 3 you require router hardware. So these are series 3700 Cisco router. This is also 3700 series and 7200 series. So this is the first in this. Then this corresponds to layer 2 switches and hubs. So these are inbuilt to this ATM switch, Ethernet hub and Ethernet switch. These are inbuilt in GNS3, whereas this router, Ethernet switch router, I have installed here. So I'm using one of the Cisco switch router image, iOS image, and it is just emulating the hardware. So the GNS3 is just giving me a support of emulation. It is emulating the hardware for me. But on back end, this hardware, this Ethernet switch router is using exact the same iOS image, which happens to be somewhere if you will install the hardware device itself will use. So it will use the same iOS image. So it will allow you to use the same command as you use with that hardware itself. Whereas these Ethernet switch, Ethernet hub, and ATM switches and frame relay switch, these are inbuilt in it. So it has not only simulated the hardware part of these switches, but as well as the software part also. So it is a pure simulation. So when simulation comes in, so that means both hardware part and the software part you have, and you have coded. Whereas in this case, you have just emulated the hardware part. Software part is as it is. We are borrowing from the underlying iOS image. So this is regarding the layer 2. Then these are the devices which we can use. So these are the end systems. So I have installed this is separate Ubuntu, means which comes along with this are VPCS. So virtual PC, it will facilitates you with some basic network command. So though the name is PC, but it will just allow you to open the terminal, and through terminal you can have the basic, you can configure the network card, you can ping it. So some basic commands. So I will show you what commands it will allow you to do. So once you will, so it facilitates the drag and drop facility. So we will open its console, must be started. We will start it first and then we'll open. So if you will just type this question mark, it will show you all the commands corresponding to this which you can use. You can use ARP command, clear command, DHCP command, disconnect, echo, help, history, IP. So if you are confused with any of the command, you can always refer these descriptions. So it is just this one. So if you will type history, it will show you how many commands you have used. So I have used twice this help command and history command, third one, and other commands also. As we will go ahead, we will see other commands as well. Then so these are the device we will use. So in this lab we will just use this PC, and uh, the good part about this software is that through virtual machine, so you can install virtual machine on your operating system. And so suppose here Ubuntu and Linux I have installed under my virtual box. So you can use those virtual images here also. So in this way you can use any operating system of your choice. So where from you can run as many command or run as many application of your choice, because this virtual PC will allow you some basic commands. So suppose any application you want to run, any big application you want to run, and you want to test it using GNS3. So in that situation, what will you do? You will install that operating system or that thing in your virtual box, and then you will include that operating system here. I will show you how to include it. So you will go in edit section, preference section, and here there is where is VirtualBox? Here, this VirtualBox this. So I have included these two images right now. So in this way you can include any other new. If you will click, it will ask you that what do you want to include. In this way you can include. So here you have to go. If you are using VMware, so there you will go. So it is not limiting you. The good part about this software is it is not limiting you. Then, so these are about the device. Then comes security device. So there is no security device. So if you want to install any firewall or any security device, you can include that thing here. So inbuilt, there is nothing. Then this will give you all the device. So clubbing all together, you can search it here. It will give you all the device. Then it will facilitate you for wiring purpose. For wire, it will provide you the links. So this is about the toolbar. Here you can see, here it will show you in this box, it will show you the topology, means whatever you will include. So suppose I have included this, so it is showing me its status that it is on, and it is telling me some name of this PC connected to through telnet to the local host. So suppose I am including any other hub also, hub, and one more device I am including. So as whatever you will include, that information you can see here also. So once you include the devices, you have to run them for using it. How it will facilitate you? So you have to click on this link and then Ethernet 0. So it is the interface. So when you are clicking on it, it is now click on it. So it has 8 interfaces. You can change it. I will show you how to configure a hub. So E0. Now once again we will click Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2. So it is all set. You have set all these devices. You have linked these devices. You can nicely display it. So from this device to this device, these two devices are connected through hub. How you can configure this hub? There is the configuration. Number of ports are 8. You can increase the ports, so it will not allow you much, because hub is the basic switching device. So there is not much to configure in this except the number of ports. You can vary the number of ports depending on how many devices you are connecting through hub. So that's hub. Now we are deleting it. So this is one thing, and in preference there are several other settings also. So Dynamips, what is Dynamips? How you will include the router, means layer 3 Cisco images, how will you include those? Under Dynamips you will include it. So Dynamips is that package in this GNS3 which emulate the hardware part of Cisco images. It allows, I think, apart from Cisco, some other images as well, but mainly for Cisco, I think Dynamics is there. Other images, if you have to include, either you can include through this virtual machine VM. So Dynamics we will include to Cisco images. How you will include? So Dynamics, you will click on CS. I have already included these many things. So if you have to, I'm deleting this one, C3725. And I'm applying it. Okay, now I am including new one. C3725. Which one I have deleted? 725? Okay.
Yes, sir. 725.
725. So I have included this image. I will go to the next. So these are the names. Don't change the names. So now the same thing, C3745, this image we can use as Ethernet switch also. So the same router you can use at the layer 3, that is network layer, as well as you can use it at layer 2, data link layer also, as a switch. So if you have to use it as a switch, you have to click this. Otherwise we will, because already I have installed it, so I'm installing the router image of it. If you will install it as an Ethernet switch, then it will start working on layer 2 instead on layer 3. So next, then the default RAM configuration is 128 MB. So sometime it will not show you the correct default RAM, so it's always better you can click on this or go on the Cisco website itself and figure out the minimum requirement for any Cisco image. So C3725, go to their website and check. Now I'm believing it that okay, 128 MB. Then next, so these are the slots. Here also you can change the slots, so where you can connect your devices. So it is a fast Ethernet FE slot. You can include other slots also. These later on also you can configure all these things. Once you have installed this image, later on also you can do it. And one more thing, when you will include your ISO image, sometime it may be decompressed. So once you will include it, it will ask you to decompress it. So it always good to decompress the image. Otherwise, if you will install the compressed file itself again and again, whenever you will run the router, it will take more time, because first it has to decompress it and then it will allow you to use that router. So whenever you will install it, it will ask you, if your file is already decompressed, then no issue, as my file is. But sometime you may get a file which is compressed, so it's always good to decompress it first. So we'll go ahead. Now this is for wireless thing. We're not making any change. This is important. Idle PC. What is idle PC? So it will calculate some value. If you will click on finish, then this thing may happen. An idle PC value is necessary to prevent iOS to use 100% of your processor or one of its core. So what does it mean? uh, in our last embedded system or in any programming, when you program, so have you noticed those loops where you want your processor to always engage, which it look for something to happen, those while one statement, and then you don't write anything, or you write certain statement in between which will figure out that something will happen eventually, and your loop will be under infinite loop while one. So idle PC value, what it will do, it will trace your whole iOS image file and look for those while loop or any for loop which is infinite in nature, which may go in infinite loop and which may engage your processor infinitely. So it will figure out those values in advance. So click on idle PC value. Now it will start to figuring out those infinite loops, and will keep a tally of it and store it somewhere. So it will not allow your iOS image to use 100% of your processor. So once if you will calculate it, suppose your friend has to install it and it is not calculating the value for him. So you can keep this value. So suppose this is the value for this image, this is the value, this value is going to be same. So if I know this value directly without finding the idle PC finder, I can directly write this value. This is in hexadecimal. So it's always better to find it from your PC itself, but in case sometime it do happen that for any image you not been able to find out the idle PC value. So if any one of you have installed it, so you can keep this value handy with you, and then while installing just type it here. Now finish. So now you can see my router here, C3745. Apply and OK. Now you can see it will come here, C3725. So whatever you will install, all these devices can come here. So now our GNS3 is doing just the emulation. So it is emulating the hardware part, how many interfaces are there, how many RAM is there involved. So everything will be managed by that iOS image. So iOS image is nothing but it's an operating system for router, like the operating system which we are using to manage the hardware which we are using. So the hardware here is router and someone has to manage it, and that someone is this C3725 Cisco image. So that is the router operating system. So that's all regarding this. Now what we will do for this first lab, I will show you that lab manual. This is the lab manual. I will share it with you. Iterative TCP. So first initial 3-4 programs are corresponding to that client server based socket programming. We will do it later on, because to complete this program you should have an understanding of TCP and UDP protocol. At least on primary level you should have an understanding of TCP and UDP protocol, particularly their session management style, how they manage the connections. Though there is no setup connection in UDP, but there is a state diagram, state transition diagram, that from one state how it will move. So that state transition diagram is important. Once we'll discuss that thing in the coming lectures. After that we will start with TCP and UDP socket programming. Prior to that we will complete our JNS3 programs. So GNS3 programs, yeah, this is the first GNS3 program. So in this program, the first lab exercise, you will understand the characteristic of hub, not router in this lab, switch. Hub and switches, we will understand these two devices. So hub and switches both will work at the layer 2, data link layer. What is the difference? We'll understand from the practical perspective. And for this, the prerequisite is the knowledge of some basic understanding of ARP protocol. ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol, and some understanding about IP addressing, a basic understanding, and you all have that much understanding. So to connect, one important thing is to connect your device with the outside world. You require three basic information. First, you require IP address. Second, you require network mask. And third, you require gateway address. So why do you require these three basic information? So if you are maintaining somewhere in your network DHCP server, DHCP server is a server which will provide these basic information to you. It may provide some additional information too, but if you are maintaining and dynamically you want your network to allocate IP addresses or these basic information, then somewhere on some system in your network, you will maintain that system for DHCP activities. So whenever any device comes in and asks for IP allotment, so it will first straightway contact the DHCP. Everything will be automatic. So, uh, but if you have to do manually also, so these three basic information you require IP address, you require network mask, and third one is, what is the third one? IP address, network mask, and gateway address. Why do you require gateway address? Because suppose if you have to start transferring your messages or transmitting your messages from your node to somewhere destination, and you don't have any routing information because you are the first node, you don't have any routing information that where will you start transmitting. So you should know your edge router address, and the gateway address is nothing but your edge router address. That okay, in this network I don't know anything, but I know someone who knows on behalf of me that where to forward my packet. So that address is the gateway address, or that edge router address. So that much information, minimum information we must require, that at least okay, we are not sure where to forward our packet, but there is someone on our behalf which can send these packets. So we should at least know that address. So that is called the gateway node or gateway address. Why do we require network mask, net mask? Every node to actually start uh, uh, routing its packet, it should know that the what is its network address. So if you are the part of any network, so that network also holds an address. What address it will hold? So just for a glimpse, I am giving you one clue. So there is an IP allotment. Suppose if 100 devices are there in any LAN network, so your network administrator will allot you some addresses. So how many addresses you require? You require a bunch of addresses, and out of those bunch of addresses, two addresses will be spatial. So those 100 nodes can't use those two spatial addresses. What is those two spatial addresses? The first address and the last address of that bunch of addresses. That first address is nothing but the network address, and the last address is nothing but the broadcast address. So if every node want to send the packet to all other nodes, then in the destination address it will write that last address, so it will go to all other nodes. If it has to forward it to the network edge router, then it will write the gateway address as a destination address. So these two addresses are spatial addresses. You will not allocate these addresses to these 100 nodes. So if it is starting from 192.168.2.1, so that .1 address, and if it is going till .255, so that is you are getting a block of 255 address. So first address and the 255th address you will reserve for these two spatial purposes. In between, you can allocate it to the nodes which will join your network. So that's why to find out the network address, what you will do, you require network mask. What is network mask? We'll see with example later on. Okay, now that much information is sufficient. One more information, that is ARP. What is ARP? That is Address Resolution Protocol. This protocol works in between network layer and data link layer. Network layer has an address of sort of IP addresses, that is called logical address, and data link layer works with physical address, that is MAC address. So every device has one MAC address. So every interface device may have different MAC address depending on how many network interface card your device has. Every network interface card has one unique MAC address. So that is medium access control layer. So that's why on that name, that is MAC address. That is nothing but the hardware address. That is 48-bit address. Whereas that logical address, IP address, is if you are using IP version 4, then it comprises of 32 bits. And there is a notation where you know it that 32 bits means you can divide it into 8 bits, 4 chunks. So that's why we write like 192.162.8.4. So it is nothing but the numerical or decimal representation of those 888 bits. If you will chunk it out in four ways, 8 bits. So byte. So that is IP address. And that physical address comprises of 48 bits. So what ARP does, because whenever a packet comes, suppose you are behind, you are a part of a LAN. Suppose here I am in institute, I am behind LAN, so I am a part of institute LAN, and they have one edge router. So if you are behind LAN, so if you have to communicate with your friends who are behind LAN, so obviously you are connected through switches. So if there is a switch network, so that means anyone can communicate with anyone without help of edge router. You don't require edge router for that purpose. You require gateway router only when you will start communicating with outside world. If you are the part of same LAN, then you no longer require that gateway router, because you are behind that gateway router, you are a part of a same LAN. There your physical address suffice, because all network interface cards are unique, their MAC address is unique. So based on MAC address itself within LAN, we can reroute the packets. We can figure out that where the destination MAC address resides. So that is possible through switches and hubs. So switches and hubs, when you will use and make a connection along with the switches and hubs, then you are a part of same LAN. Though through virtual LAN you can segregate different LANs, that is different thing, but you are not using the network layer, you are not going till layer 3, so you are not using their that network address, IP address. So suppose if any packets destined to you, you are behind a LAN, so on behalf of you, initially your edge router receives that packet and will figure out, okay, this is the IP address where I have to send it, and it resides within my LAN, so I can forward it. But you are behind that router, how it will forward it? It will forward it based on your MAC address. Now that node has to figure out what is your MAC address, because if it has not been able to figure out your MAC address, then routing along with switches and hubs is not possible, because that edge router has received it based on your IP address, but now no longer that IP address is valid within that LAN. Later on we will notice that why it is not valid. Now that edge router must know your MAC address. So ARP is that protocol which all the nodes which are the part of LAN, particularly the switches, maintain a table, ARP table, which is nothing but how to map IP address which are residing within the network to their MAC address. So that what initially that edge router will do, edge router will initially broadcast it, that who has this IP address. Now everyone will listen it. You know the broadcast address, that last address. So every network has a group of addresses, and that last address is the broadcast address. So that node will broadcast it. Okay, everyone will listen it. So I know my IP address and I know my MAC address also. So then I will respond. Okay, yes, this packet is for me. Then I will share. So I will then unicast it. Unicast means one-to-one communication. Then I will unicast it to my edge router that this belongs to me, forward it to me. Then there will be one-to-one communication. So in this way, the ARP protocol works. So it converts the IP address into that mapped MAC address. And this mapping, then all your switches will listen, because when that router will ask you that who has this address, and you are responding back. So whenever you are responding back, your response is going via switches. So switches are smart. That's why hub and switch, there is a difference. Hub will just route the message. Whenever it will receive a message on any interface, it will forward it to all other interfaces. It will just leave the interface on which it has received it. Whereas your switches are smart. What they will do, initially they will act like hubs, they will forward it to all other things, but eventually when they will come, okay, this IP address has responded with this MAC address on this interface, then they will keep track of these things. Somewhere they will write this information, and they will reuse this information on later on part. So the next time what may happen, the first time your switches, whenever the edge router will forward it that who has this who has this IP address, so it has come to me, I has responded that this is my MAC ID and this is my IP address. So this information, when passing through any of the switch will come to know, okay, this is the MAC ID, and on this interface, if any other request comes to me, I will not go back to the node itself. I will act on behalf of the node itself. But this is for a moment. For one day, ARP tables can be maintained, because it may be possible that I may change my IP address. So for a brief moment of a time, switches can maintain these informations and can reuse those informations. But because as if you are using DHCP, you are coming and going, so it may be possible that your IP address has been allocated to some other MAC address. So that is called staling of the ARP table itself, and that is one type of attack also. So if you are the part of LAN network, you can write bogus entries in ARP. If you will write bogus entries, then that network will not function well. So that is one type of attack as well. So this information is sufficient. Now we'll go ahead with GNS. So these are the two devices. These two devices, initially I have already shown it to you. So we are connecting it. Already it is up. Okay. Now we will check whether it has any ARP table. Show ARP. So it is a command. You can check this command. It is written here. ARP. Show ARP command. So it will give you any entry which is there. So ARP table is empty right now. We will allocate one IP address to it. So I am allotting 192.168.2.3/24. So it's a basic network. There is no edge router involved as such. So I'm not writing other entries. /24 means it's a net mask, network mask. Mask means initial 24 bits will be 1, and next remaining 8 bits will be 0. So whenever initial 24 bits 1, you will end with this IP address. Whatever the result you will get, that is the network address. So in this way, any node or any router in between can calculate the network address. How it will calculate? It will take the IP address and then it will end it with the network mask, and whatever comes as a result will be the network address. So routing that routing table means they maintain the routing table based on network mask as well as the destination address. And then whenever any IP comes, then first thing router does, they will mask it, means they will mask it with the network address and figure out the network address. Based on the network address, then they will forward it, because it may be possible that in one network 1000 nodes are there. So for 1000 nodes, there will be only one entry in routing table based on the network address. So if that router receive any request corresponding to any of these 1000 nodes. So there is only one entry in the routing table. So that is about to the network mask concept. So when you will click, it will check for the duplicate address. Now second one, it is totally, remember it that we have given the first. So it is always better to actually write down your topology, draw your topology on paper, otherwise you may forget it and you will clutter with your IP addresses. So maintain this topology somewhere on your paper, note it down with IP addresses, so that we can check the connectivity or do operations smoothly. And the next node, I will give the address 192.168.2.4/24. PC1 we have done. PC2. So here IP 192.168.2.4/24, checking for duplicate address. So there is no duplicate address. Let's suppose we will give any address, same address. I'm giving same address to it. Let's see whether it will accept it or not. No. So this address is being used by the MAC address. This address not changed. So change your address once again. 4. So in this way, it will check the address duplicacy. It is exactly the same. If you might have observed that on the same LAN, if two devices are there and both the LANs try to manually give themselves the same address, then this error comes. So it is the same mechanism. So PC2, we have given this address. Now also we will check whether there is any ARP entry. ARP table is empty. Now we will ping the first device, PC1, and the address of PC1 is 192.168.2.3. Yeah, it is proper. So you can ping it. So there is a connectivity. Now we will see that what is the status of ARP table. See, there is an entry here corresponding to this device. So this is the MAC address. So corresponding to this MAC address, this is the IP address, and we asked for 0.3. So 0.3, what is its equivalent MAC address? Because though we are pinging IP address, but there is a direct connection. So on level 2, on layer 2, it requires this mapping, because it can't forward it just based on the IP address. It requires the MAC address on layer 2. So it is providing this. So how this thing will happen, and it will expire in 109 seconds or so, because I have explained the reason that why it will only maintain it for brief moment. In big networks where your topology is stable and they know that these devices are going to stay here for a while, there they may maintain these things for hour, for day, for 2 day, for week, based on the stability of the network. So this is one thing. Now we will introduce, if you have to suppose, and in PC1 also you can check. PC1 will also now here we will see show ARP, same information for 0.4. This address is 0.3, but see, from 0.4 to 0.3 we have pinged it, but pinging means you are sending a request packet, ICMP request packet will go, and there must be a response corresponding to then that request. So who will send the response? So 0.4 will send a response, means 0.3 will send a response to 0.4. So 0.3 should also know the equivalent MAC address of 4.4. So it will also maintain this information. How it will maintain, what will happen, what will be the sequence of packet transmission, all that we will see. First we will clear this ARP. You can clear ARP through clear command. You can clear ARP, clear IP, you can clear root. So I can clear IP also. So just clear an IP. So then it will no longer carry the same IP. So now if we will see, is there any ARP thing? No, ARP is empty. And for second also, PC2 also, we will clear ARP. Now we will bring in, we will start capturing packet using Wireshark. Okay, so there is no traffic going on in between these two devices. Let's see what will happen. So PC1 to PC2. So from PC2 we will start. PC2 to PC. PC2 is 0.4 and 0.3. And here you can see here. First one is ARP protocol. So it's a broadcast. So it will ask that who has this 0.3, who has 192.68.2.3. Then there will be a response. It's not a broadcast response. It is unicast response. And through these ARP exchanges, both the nodes will come in terms with their MAC addresses. Then starts the pinging. So this is first ping and its reply, then the next ping, its reply. So this window, this where my cursor is right now, this is the capture window. Then if you will click on any captured packet, corresponding to that, you can see here that packet window. This is called the packet window. Some detail you can see. Then corresponding to that packet in this is in ASCII and it's same in hexadecimal, that how does that packet will look in hexadecimal, that is on wire in bit form, and it's its equivalent ASCII format. So it is not of any use for us. So these two windows are helpful for us. So suppose we have to figure out what is there in ARP. So I told you that address resolution protocol works in between network layer and which layer? Which one? Network and? Hello, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
So network layer and ARP protocol will work in between network layer and which layer? From here also you can guess. So it works in between network layer and data link layer, because from network layer that node will come in terms with the IP address, and now it has to convert that IP address into MAC address. So in between that protocol works. So this is the address resolution protocol. Then it is using these two Ethernet, it is using at the data link layer, and it is converting it into frame. So what is there in the address resolution protocol? So this is the format of that packet. So whenever we will study ARP protocol, now I don't want to disclose too much about the address resolution protocol, that what goes into its packet. So these are all the information. The important part is MAC address. What is the sender MAC address? What is the sender IP address? What is the target or the response MAC address, and the target IP address? So initially, because it has to broadcast it, so the broadcast MAC address is all these things, and target address is this, and sender. So this thing is important. Actually, this packet wants to go to every interface initially, because as a node you doesn't know what is the equivalent MAC address or the mapped MAC address for this IP address. So what you will do, it's better to broadcast it initially. So it will broadcast it. So it is here broadcasting it. So MAC address, because the broadcasting MAC address means all your 48 bits should be 1111. So that amounts to broadcast your packet within that network domain. It will broadcast it on all the interfaces. So whichever interface has this target address will respond back. So this is the response. So if we will click on this, so sender IP address is 0.3 and it has target IP address is 0.4. So it's a communication between these two nodes. Then from there onwards, the communication is unicast, ping request and ping reply. So if you have to understand any protocol, so suppose ARP we have to understand. So in this way we will go about the ARP protocol. First we will generate a traffic corresponding to ARP. Then we will figure out that okay, we have understood it in theoretical way. In this way, this is the packet format for ARP. Regarding this packet format, what is written, what is the meaning of this, all these things you can demonstrate and you can learn through that demonstration. So this is the ARP packet and these are the ping packets. So ping will use ICMP. So ICMP protocol works in between transport layer and network layer. So ICMP will use IP protocol at the network layer, then IP protocol will use Ethernet protocol at the data link layer, and Ethernet protocol will generate a frame. So this frame is at the that layer, physical layer. Ethernet will generate that frame. So in this sequence, you can tally the protocol sequence. So first protocol is Internet Control Message Protocol. What is the content of this? So let's see the size. The size is here is 56 byte. So it has generated 56 bytes. Some information is there. So that information is not relevant for now. We will see what other protocols will do. So ICMP protocol will generate some message format, some important control information it will write. So all these things are control information. Then this is the bogus data, so it will write this data. So then it will pass it on to the IP layer. IP layer works at network layer. So IP layer will take whatever ICMP protocol will provide to it, and it will keep that thing as it is. It will not change it, and it will add certain more information in terms of header. Its header length is 20 bytes, so it will add 20 more bytes to it and some other control information it will write, and the total length now is 84, from 56 to 84 bytes. So it has written its control information. Then it will pass it on to the data link layer, and there the working protocol is Ethernet working protocol, and it will write some information. And then finally 98 bytes are there on wire. So it has started, Internet control message protocol has started with 56 bytes, and on wire 98 bytes are there. So every protocol adds certain control information. So what are you adding matters as a protocol. So your protocol must be efficient, because if you are adding irrelevant information which is not providing you enough means control, for whatever reason you are including that information, it is of no relevance. That irrelevant information will add it on, and that will reflect on the frame, and then those many bytes will go on wire. So it may amounts to inefficiency. So while designing your protocol, you have to be sure that why are you adding any information, what is the relevance of that any information, or whether there is any bypass through which you can make it irrelevant. So all these things make your protocol efficient. So in this way you can check. So this is the sequence from here. So other things also we will see, other protocols. In this way you can check for any protocol. So this is corresponding to our this traffic which we have generated. So those who have already installed it, all of you please do it, and randomly for one or two students, I will ask them to share their screen. Okay, so I'm giving you 10-15 minutes. How many minutes do you require? I think you require just 5-10 minutes for this. How many minutes do you require for doing this and experimenting with these two nodes? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
So how
5 minutes.
many minutes do you require? 5 minutes, no?
5. Yeah.
5 minutes,
So
yes.
actually, I've connected to Teams via Windows. So like I have to switch to
Switch, no issue, switch it.
Hello, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, how do you download that image which you have done for the router that time?
Download, I have already, you can't download it, it is not freely available. So I have already shared it here. I have shared it, I'm showing you. Under files, if you will go, so GNS3 Cisco iOS images, can you see this?
Okay.
So
I'll check that.
inside this, 3 images are there. You can download these images from here.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So,
Hmm.
so I drew the diagram, sir, but the in the packet capture utility, there's no capture that's showing.
What addition?
Um, like so when I open Wireshark for packet capture, it's not showing anything, sir.
So for that you have to generate traffic. Until
Okay,
and unless you will ping, it will not show anything.
okay, I have to ping for that. So, okay.
You have to ping for that.
So how do we check the IP address of PC1 and PC2?
Show IP. Uh, so through their terminal, show IP. Command is show and space IP.
Okay.
That's why it is necessary to write it somewhere so that later on when you have to ping it, you can straightway go ahead with those addresses.
Good evening, sir.
Hmm. Okay. Are you joining now?
Sir, I was not well.
Oh,
So उसके लिए मैं अपने आप को आइसोलेट करके रूम में ही हूँ, दूसरे घर पे हूँ आज।
अच्छा.
हाँ सर, मुझे ऐसे लगने लगा कि सिम्टम, तो फिर मैं दूसरे घर पे ही हूँ। खाना भी आज खुद ही बनाया सर।
ओ, भाई ध्यान रख.
सर अरे सिचुएशन ही ऐसा सर, पूरे बिल्डिंग में अगर 15-20 केस होंगे तो आप कैसे बच सकते हैं?
हम्म.
क्या अगर सर क्लास वास में नहीं हूँ, मैं पहले मैसेज कर दूंगा।
हम्म.
हम्म। सर क्या क्या पार्ट हुआ अभी?
अभी बस एक छोटा सा प्रोग्राम हुआ कि ये दो नोड हैं, इनको कनेक्ट किया है, इनके बीच में कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं.
ओके सर।
Have you completed? Have you all done with the first program? Hmm?
सर मैं लिनक्स से लॉगिन करता हूँ, 5 मिनट दीजिए बस।
Mhm. Are you all been able to ping from one PC to another? Can we go ahead? Hmm? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Command to capture packets.
How to capture packets? So to capture packets, here stop capture. So here you have to right click on this link and click on start capture. Okay.
Okay sir.
And then you have to ping from one PC to another PC. And then check your ARP also, that whether it is showing some ARP table values or not. Aishwarya, have you done it?
recording itself.
Arpan,
No, sir. I have not yet installed
okay,
Linux properly.
follow. Okay, then you can do it later on. Okay, now we'll move ahead and see what will happen if we'll add one hub to this. So where is our GNS3? Here. We are deleting this. Okay, all of you listen. Delete. So these are two devices. But this time, instead of connecting them, hello?
Sir,
Sir, your screen share.
Okay,
It got
screen.
off.
Sure. Okay. Share. Now can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are two devices, same two devices. And instead of connecting them through direct link, we'll connect them through Ethernet hub and then see what will happen. Okay, and not only that, we will take one more device, and now we will start connecting them. Ethernet 0, hub Ethernet 1 to this, to this. Now we doesn't require these interface values, but once you will start using routers, then we do require these Ethernet interface names also. So how to find out their names? Here you can see this thing. If you will click on this, it will show you all the interfaces names: Ethernet 0, Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2, and you can nicely adjust it also. Everything you can adjust. Okay.
Sir, can you repeat that?
Okay. So suppose here there is no interface name depicted so far. But once we will start using routers, then we have to configure different interfaces with different IP addresses. So there we do require the interface names. So in that situation, you just click on this ABC, this interface. And if you will click it once, it will show it. If you want to disappear it again, you can double click it, means you can click it once again. So in this way, you can see all the interfaces names. Here, though, we doesn't require, just as a feature, I have shown it to you. These PC, this PC, still we have to run it. So once again, run it. We will check it whether it has retained its IP address or not. We will check show IP. Yeah, it has the same address .3. So we have to give only one more address to our PC3. So I am writing down all these values and making topology graph. So 192.168.2.3, 192.68.2.4, and next one we will give address 192.168.2.5/24. So PC1 has retained it. PC2 also has the same IP address which we have already configured. This PC3 we have to configure. If you will check its IP address initially, so it doesn't have any IP address 000. So we will change its IP. We will configure it with new IP address 192.168.2.5/24. If we will now check it IP, So this is the IP. We haven't provided any gateway address, so it is not there. Once we will start doing routing operations, then this gateway is also required. So that comes as a third argument. So IP, after this there is a first argument, after that there is a second argument as network mask, and after that the third argument this command require as gateway address, edge router address. So all the three things we have connected, configured, we have configured them with their IP address. Now we will start from this device PC3, so means from .5 to .3 we will ping, and then later on we will check. First we will check the connectivity. Once you will set a topology and you will configure everything, first thing you have to ensure that from one device to all other device whether you will be able to communicate or not. So from this device we will first initially check whether we will be able to communicate with PC1 or PC2 or not. That we will check first. So we will open the terminal for PC3 and we will check one by one that whether our hub is working or not. So we are connecting with .3 first, 192.168.2.3. so here there is a connectivity, no issues. So if here we can also understand that if our packet is reaching there, means .3, so packet is coming back also from there. So we don't have to check exclusively from .3 to .5, because already from 5 to 3 once we have checked it, so there is a connectivity from back end also, from their backtracking facility is also available. Next we will ping to .4, ping 192.168.2.4. there also there is a connectivity, no issue. So our hub is working fine. Now what we have to observe here, first we have observed that there is a connectivity, no connectivity issue is there. Second thing we will see, suppose we are communicating from this device, means .5, from PC3 to PC1 we have started communication. We are pinging from here to here. Then we will capture packets here. That PC2 will listen to what communication, whether PC2 can listen to the communication which is going on from PC3 to PC1, or what will happen, what is the scenario if we are using hub. So we will start capture here on this link from hub to PC2, we will start capturing the packets. So it is from hub 1 to PC2. So there we will start capturing packets, and first we will see its PC3 ARP, show ARP. There is ARP. So it has ARP for two devices, you can see here. One is about to expire and one will expire after 45 seconds. We will clear everything, clear ARP, and we'll clear it for everyone. PC2, then PC1 also will clear. Here also if you will, there is only one which is about to expire, then clear ARP, PC1, PC3 already we have done it, PC3 and PC2 also. Show ARP, it is empty, so it is already deleted it, so it has expired. Now from PC3 to PC1 we will communicate and then see what will happen to that link. PC3, where is PC3? PC3. PC3 is 0.5 and PC, so we are communicating, once again I am showing you, from this PC3 to PC1 we are communicating and we are capturing packets here. So because we are communicating in between PC3 and PC1, our observation is that we should not receive anything over this link, because our communication is in between PC3 and PC1. What PC2 has to do with our packets? But let's see what will happen. PC3, we will ping to ping 192.168.2.3. Okay. Now we'll go to our Wireshark and see here from hub 1 to PC2. So it can see all the packets which are up on the wire in between PC3 to PC1. PC2 can listen to all these information. So in all ARP packets, all ICMP packets, everything. So if you are using hub and you all are behind a hub, you all are connected through hub, then anyone can listen to anyone's communication. So if you are a part of a LAN and your LAN architecture is based on hub, then anyone in your LAN can listen to your packets which are destined to you, which you are initiating. All other people can listen to your packets. Got this idea about hub? Because what hub is doing, already I have explained the functionality of hub. Whenever anything comes on any of its interface, irrespective of whether it is a control packet, data packet, anything, it will reroute it to other interfaces except the one on which it has received that packet. So whether you are initiating ARP request, so once the ARP request will come, it will reroute it here as well as here. Once from here the response will come, it will reroute it here as well as here. So that's why PC2 we are monitoring, this link we are monitoring, so that PC2 will also receive everything which will go in between PC1 and PC3. PC3 initiated the communication. Initially PC3 starts with ARP request, then PC1 will go with ARP response. So but PC2 can listen to all the communication because the connecting and switching device is hub. That is the limitation comes along with the hub, because hub is very primitive. What it will do, it will simply regenerate the traffic on other interfaces. Once it will receive any traffic on any interface, its task is to regenerate it, reroute it on all other interfaces excluding the one on which it has received it. Any question, query regarding this? I have demonstrated it also. In between the communication was there, but you can listen everything on this. Once again I am showing, you can listen everything. See, everything you can listen starting from ARP. Now once again we will generate a traffic and then we will see what will happen. See, now there is no ARP. Can you notice here? Initial ARP, and now there is once again one more ARP. Now one more request I will, because see, now you can see there is no ARP request, because once your systems, your PC know the ARP, they have maintained it, and they haven't lost it, they haven't exhausted it. So till that time they can use the same ARP table. So here if you will see that is there any entry in ARP, so that's why it will not regenerate any ARP request message, because the information is already available. If this information won't be available with PC3, then it will initiate with ARP request packet. If the information is there, so till 67 seconds, if I will once again generate, so if I am once again generating the ping request from this device, it will not ask for any ARP response because the entry is still there. From now onwards till 45 seconds, if I will ping, it will doesn't require that ARP request and response packet. But once I will clear it, so suppose I'm clearing it explicitly, clear ARP, then it will once again, now if I will ping, because it doesn't have this entry, it will request and then response will come, and everything you can listen on this wire. That is the drawback of hub. Okay, any query regarding this? This thing also you can do later on. Anything anyone wants to ask? So that is the functionality of hub. Now instead of hub, we will replace hub. First we will stop this. This is the stop button, this is the play button, and this is the pause button. So we are stopping it. Now we are deleting it. Okay, do you want to permanently delete hub? Yes. Now we will connect it with Ethernet switch. This is the inbuilt one. We are not using Ethernet switch router. We are using the one which comes along with this software. Switch one. Okay. We are connecting it. Already we have given them IP address. Once before using, we will ensure that whether these devices have retained the same IP, or once again we have to give. We will connect them. Okay, that's it. PC1, we have to start it. You can configure this also. So these are all the configuration modes in which you can configure. Now all the things which are linked with this switch, they are the part of same LAN. So even this switch, once we will understand the virtual LAN concept, so we will use the same switch. There you can change the number of number which you will give to VLAN. So here the number given to this VLAN is 1. So all the devices which are connected to it right now, all these ports, so 0, 1, 2, 3, these are all the part of same LAN, VLAN 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If we will change, so suppose if we want to maintain here, we want to use the same switch, but we want to maintain 2 LANs. Then for that purpose, we have to give some other number on other ports. So all the devices which will be connected via those ports will be the part of different VLAN with different number. So in this way, you can create different LANs also. So here we are not understanding VLAN, we are understanding the basic feature of this switch, and the basic feature is that it has 8 ports. These ports also you can configure, you can change, and these are all the part of same VLAN, means there is only one LAN. So there is not even a concept of VLAN, there is only one LAN now. So that's all. Okay, I will check the PC with their IPs, whether they have retained the IP or not. Show IP. No, we have to once again configure it. IP 192.168.2.3.24. This is PC1. Then we will change it for PC2. IP 192.168.2.4/24. PC2 also we have configured. Then PC3 IP 192.168.2.5/24. Same IPs I am using, which I have used for the previous example. We will check whether there is any ARP. There is no ARP. Okay. Once again, we will communicate from PC3 to PC1, and we will capture packets on this link again. and then we will see the difference. Before that, I am deleting these two. Okay, start capture. So on this interface, I am capturing, but I am initiating my conversation from PC3 to PC1. So these two links are involved in this. So idea is once it will start, because it doesn't have any entry, PC3 doesn't have entry, first it will start with ARP packets, that what is the MAC address for PC1. Once it will receive that information, then it will start sending these packets to the concerned MAC address, physical address. And then we will see, because in hub we have seen that PC2 was able to capture all the packets which being communicated in between PC3 and PC1. So here we will see that whether there is any difference switch will bring in or not. So we will ping, what we will ping, 192.168.2.3. okay, there is a connection. And now we will see our captured packet. See, there is only one captured broadcast packet, ARP. There is no ping ICMP packets PC2 was able to receive. Why? Because initially PC3 was expecting PC1's MAC address. So obviously even switch 1 was not aware about the MAC address of PC1. So initially PC3 will start communicating with switch 1. It will broadcast it. So broadcasting means it will send it to switch 1. Switch 1 doesn't have this information, so switch 1 will broadcast it on both the interfaces. So when it will broadcast that ARP request packet on both the interfaces, then here we are capturing that information. But PC2 is not one we are expecting to respond, so PC1 will respond. So PC1 will respond from here, this interface. So switch 1 will notice that okay, I have to reroute the packets corresponding to this IP address on this interface whenever I will get any packets later on from PC3 or from anywhere for that IP address corresponding to PC1, then I have to reroute. So switch 1 is smart. So there is some element of smartness, intelligence in switch 1, and how that intelligence works, it's simple, that it will monitor the traffic, it will monitor the ARP packets which are coming and going, and based on their written source IP address and the MAC address as it is, it will copy and capture and place it in its ARP table. And for a while it will capture, means for a while it will maintain it. So once again, if we will see packet, then we will see whether, see, now it hasn't received even that first broadcast message, because this switch has already captured that information. So switch 1 has this information. So instead of broadcasting it on all the wire, it has directly sent to PC3 that the information is residing with me, and it has directly conveyed it to PC1 and PC1. So ICMP communication will be on. So here also we will capture certain packets and see what will happen. Right now there is nothing. Suppose from PC3 once again I am pinging. Let's see what information. See, ARP packets initially and then ICMP packets, because by that time it has lost the information, that switch. So this is the difference. So in recent time, now we have moved from hubs to switches, because in hub we have seen the limitation. Those who are connected with it can capture all the packets, whereas in case of switch, it is smart. It will reroute your packets based on the MAC address. It will not reroute your packets randomly to all the interfaces. So it will capture your packets. It will understand the source and that destination MAC address. Based on the source and destination MAC addresses, it will reroute the packets. That's all. That is the difference. How they all do it, there is an algorithm. That algorithm, if time permits, because data link layer comes at the last, and there is a spanning algorithm. So how those algorithm works? Minimum spanning tree. Have you heard about the minimum spanning trees? Hello. So
Yes, sir.
on layer 2, it creates minimum spanning tree. So that algorithm is there. Some not directly how you calculate the minimum spanning tree, but the premise is that it has to calculate the minimum spanning tree in the entire network. All switches come together and they will communicate, and over a period of time, every switch will maintain one minimum spanning tree diagram corresponding to that network, and then based on that, it will reroute based on the physical address or the MAC address. So if time permits, we will understand any one of the algorithm. Anything you want to ask regarding switches, hubs? Next lecture, we will see something based on this, or maybe I will introduce you with addressing concepts.
So PC1 and PC2 have same IP address?
What?
Can PC1 and PC2 have the same IP address?
No. If you are directly connected with the switch, you can't have the same IP addresses because you are the part of the same LAN. Here also, if you are behind switch also, you are the part of the same LAN.
Okay, sir.
Same LAN, you can't have different. LAN means you are the part of the same network. So all of you share the same network address. All of you share the same network address. That is the first address. Okay. Now all of you do this operation. And there is one more thing, that if you will nicely, so see, this is the rectangle. So here we want to segregate it. So we want that this is the part of things. Logically, we want to divide our network. So how we can do? See, this is the part of one sort of thing, anything it is. So right click on this, lower one layer. Now you can see it. Okay. So this is one. You can include text box also, insert picture. You can add a note here also, something you can do. And there is one more. So here, this is part of another, and right click, lower one layer. So in this way you can write. So if you have to remember your topology, you can take a snapshot of it also. So suppose this topology later on I want to refer, I want to show it to someone, anything, you can annotate it with so many things. So here there is a this also, you can write anything here if you want. Okay, so if I want to take a snapshot of it, you can take a screenshot. Just click on this and name anything, that test 5, and it will save. So now it is on my, where it has saved it. I will once again save it on desktop. See this 4, you can see this image. Okay, this thing also I have done. Next, what you have to do, you have to use this topology. Take two switches and 1, 2, 3, 4 PCs and check the connectivity first. Check the connectivity. So in what order you can give the IP address? So same range you can give 192.168.2.3, give PC1.3, PC2.4.5.6, and then check the connectivity. And somewhere place your capture packet also. Can you do it? All of you please draw this and later on, whenever you will get a time, based on your convenience, you can do it. So first, go in a sequence. First, instead of switch, use hubs. Okay, and then once you have created that topology and you have seen the captured packets and connectivity, then move on to this switch concept. Then instead of hub, these two, just change it with switches. Okay. Anything you want to ask? What are you doing? Have you all started doing it? Hello?
Hello, sir.
One by one.
I have completed whatever is done today.
So have you completed that last one also, this one?
No.
So you have to do this as well.
Okay, sir.
So here, these are all your lab exercises. Once you will go through lab exercises and then see. Okay. So the first lab exercise is design network configuration. This one. For all ports, connect all 4 virtual machines PCs to a single Ethernet via single hub. Configure the IP address as given. These are all the IP addresses. On PC1, view the ARP cache with this command. Start Wireshark on PC1, hub1, this. Issue a ping command from this. Observe the ARP packet in the Wireshark window. Explore the MAC addresses there. And these fields. So it's better that you do this lab exercise. Instead of doing that, do this lab exercise. Okay. This will, because everything is in sequence. They have written it, what you have to do. Next one you will not be able to do. It will not allow you to do it. Initially, when GNS3 at that time, when they wrote it, at that time GNS3 used to allow duplicate addresses also, but now the moment you start configuring any device for its IP address, it will check for the duplicacy. So you will get an error. So there is no point in doing these things, because once you will start giving any duplicate address, straightway it will deny it to do so. Otherwise, initially it was possible and it created a problem. So just to give you a kind of a feeling for that sort of a problem, this question was designed. But now it is irrelevant, because the moment you will start giving the same address, here what they are asking you to do, that PC1 and PC4 make their address same. But the moment now you will do it, it will say you that already this MAC address has used this IP address, you can't no longer use it. So that much observation you can write corresponding to this part. This one is interesting. Later on we will see, once you all will be equipped with IP addressing concept, because here it is asking us to change the network the network address and the network mask itself. Here it is 24, 28, 24, 28. If you will do it, what will happen? whether still you will be able to ping or not, what and all issues will happen on ARP, what are its all ramifications. All these things will carry forward once I will give you a background in addressing. Just wait for a while, someone is there on my. Hello, I'm back. Now, anything you want to ask from my end? I have covered whatever I thought of conveying to you. So anything you want to ask now, you can ask, and otherwise we'll just conclude and wind it up. What are you doing now? So much disturbance is there from your end, Nikanti. And what is your roll number, Nikanti? Nikanti.
57 sir, roll number. Hello sir.
Hello. Ashwara, what are you doing?
Yes, sir.
Which one are
Hello,
you
sir.
doing? Hello.
Sir, I was a bit slow. I'll try it after the class and I'll
Okay.
text.
Okay. Yes, Mohammed.
Sir, I have completed that switch thing.
Switch thing you have completed. Okay. I mean, you have to complete with observations. You have to observe ARP packets. So here and there, randomly place capture that wire shafts, and then observe that how ARP packets are moving here and there after how many minutes or so or seconds or so. Once again, your switches do require ARP packets. So all that things you have to observe. It is not just you have to come up with a topology and you have to just check the connectivity. The idea of this lab is to equip you with ARP packets. What is the purpose of ARP packets? How and where those packets are putting their influence? What are they doing? All these things. Shikhar, what are you doing? Shikhar? Okay, can I leave now then? Ruhi?
Yes, sir. So actually, earlier I took time in switching from Windows to Linux. So I haven't completed yet. I'll complete after the class.
Okay. I mean, what part is confusing you? Is there anything which is confusing you want to ask?
No, sir, I understood, but I wasn't able to implement because like my PC got hanged for a while I was switching.
Okay. Okay, then it's better for me to leave. You can try on your own whenever you get time. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.